What's happening, friends? Welcome back for another episode of the Chamber Podcast. This is yet another remote podcast. I'm very excited about today. This could not be a show with two more opposing weather climates. So joining me today from the great state of Arizona is Steve Zyskowski. He is the founder of Caerusnet, and I'm really excited to dive more into this. So first off, Steve, welcome to the show.
Rob, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate your partnership with the Brighton Chamber. This is really fantastic that you guys do this, supporting businesses in the community. It's really, really awesome.
Thank you, sir. So as I mentioned in the open, right now in Michigan, we're expecting a 10 to 15 inch snowstorm. And I told you probably not the case in Arizona. Probably a nice balmy day of 85 or something out there. So what I want to look at first, Steve, is diving into your history and really how you got to Caerusnet. And we'll put a pin in that for now, and we'll tell people what that is about. But I want to know just about your background and where you came from and how you got into the business of business referrals, so to speak.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Rob. So Caerusnet and how I got into referrals is a little bit of a complicated story, but I'll try to make it super duper short. I graduated with a degree in public relations and creative writing, so I've always been somebody who's really interested in the story behind things. I love the story. I love a person's story. Once I know their story, I can get enrolled in their journey and support them. And so really, since college, it's all been about that. My brother and I started a comic book publishing company and toy manufacturing company in the early 1990s. Did that for a number of years, absolutely loved it. We kind of grew up on superhero comic books, Spider-Man, Batman, and, appreciated the heroics, appreciated, people that saved the day and did good. So to be our own comic book publishers and toy manufacturers for close to 10 years was a dream come true. But we were also entering kind of a digital phase change in the world where kids weren't reading comic books anymore. They were playing video games. And we decided that as much as we enjoyed it, it probably wasn't going to be a future for the two of us. So after that, I started a mortgage company, believe it or not. Talk about changing gears, right? Started a mortgage company with a friend of mine from college, a fraternity brother, and a financial advisor there in Brighton at the time, who I was developing a relationship, said, Steve, it looks like you're really going to do great with your mortgage company. You're great with people. I know you want to be known in the community. Have you ever heard of BNI? Have you ever heard of networking or anything like that? I had never heard of anything like that. And he said, well, we're getting ready to start a BNI group, and we've already burned through a couple mortgage people that we thought might be a good fit. But why don't you come check the group out and see if it might work for you? So I did. And I loved the concept of small business people supporting each other. And it was off to the races, building a group with other business professionals in the area. I had the best of times and the worst of times in BNI. Had a lot of success, but also had a lot of frustration, just simply because you have to do a lot to be successful in that enterprise in terms of holding an officer position and that sort of stuff. It felt like sometimes marketing my business in the group felt like a second job. So when the mortgage financial collapse happened, my partner moved to Denver, and there was nobody that I could refinance anymore. Everybody's homes lost half their value. People lost jobs. Financial collapse was pretty horrible because every day I was getting a call from the banks I was working with saying, hey, Steve, all those loans you have cleared to close in your pipeline? Well, all of our investors just pulled out, so they're not going to close. So yeah. So for somebody who liked being a hero for people, that made me feel a little bit like a villain. And it was also a time where I was having to close my mortgage business, go through a divorce, go through all sorts of challenges that came along with those things, and had the opportunity to hit the reset button in life. And while I was in BNI, which I was thrown out of, just wanted to let you know that I didn't make it there. I was tossed out. But while I was in it, I thought to myself, geez, if somebody could provide a networking group experience as a service to the people, be their partner in making great relationships and learning techniques and skills at how to get good at referrals, that might have a chance at being successful. And so in 2008, I launched Caerusnet and have been doing it now for 14 years, although I do it a little differently now than when we started as an in-person enterprise.
Yeah. So walk me through. So BNIs are obviously wildly popular. There's a ton of other networking type organizations kind of spinning up to be a counter to that. So walk me through Caerusnet and what, like, for example, let's say, Wayne Media wants to be in Caerusnet. What would that look like?
Yeah, so a couple different things. I pride myself on running a program that people look forward to being a part of. Going to a Cirrusnet meeting and the people that you're surrounded with in terms of the quality of the people, it's usually when you see that on your calendar that week. Most of my clients tell me they're excited because they know good things happen from going to those meetings. So, I'm one of these people that I believe in having fun in life. I like to have fun when I'm learning. I like to have fun with people. I believe that if you provide an atmosphere that is light but purposeful, that people will gravitate to that, and you'll attract those types of people that you just enjoy being around. So, we're different than BNI and other organizations from the standpoint that we're a facilitator-led organization. So every Caerusnet team has a facilitator that runs it, who's very familiar with the program, that does a great job, who has a vested interest in wanting to see the team successful. So in Livingston County, Doug Moffitt and Wendy Caverly also facilitate Caerusnet teams. And, we take a partnership approach to this. So each client, each member in one of my teams is somebody I want to see successful. So sometimes I refer them, sometimes I connect them to other professionals that I think could be a good fit to help them grow their business. And I teach people how to get good at referrals in their own business. So your own customers, your own clients who you're already working hard for want to share you with the world without you ever seeming standoffish or pushy. So, I have techniques and I train people on how to use these in their own voice. So when the opportunities arise, they know what to say. They know why it's important. They know that it's important for them to kind of add extra value to the relationships that they're trying to build. So we don't meet every week. We schedule 30 weeks of meetings every year. So this isn't something that really gets in the way of a business wanting to do other things. It's a nice complement to somebody's busy schedule. Like I said, I've been doing it for 14 years now. My members have passed about 75,000 documented referrals during that time. So, it's a feel-good organization that has evidence that there's proof in the pudding.
You use the word, quality people in the group. And I think that's super important because then when it's basically you're building a culture. You're building
Yes.
something that people want to be a part of. And when you ignore culture in favor of growth, scaling, you're really setting yourself up for a bad day because now you have all this infrastructure and all this growth. You have no culture that's going to, give you any type of longevity.
Absolutely. No, I fully agree with that. I feel that the people that are in my business groups, they're at that stage in their business where they're not afraid to make investments in themselves. They recognize that to go far in life, often we need to invest in ourselves. So my groups, there is an investment to be in one. So you're probably not going to get that person who's trying to stretch every penny as far as possible, or somebody who still hasn't reached profitability in business and they're feeling a lot of fear and anxiety. You're actually surrounding yourself with people that are probably close to around where you're at, and that makes people feel comfortable.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because there are levels to this, and when you recognize that, like, you're doing nothing but just stating a fact, that you need to understand, like, is this person willing to invest in that? Do they have the time? Do they have the capital? Do they have the willingness? Like, all of those things are equally important. Even like for us, when we look for vendors, it's it's important to make sure that people have the want, the capital and the actual time to invest in those 30 weeks out of a year, 30 days rather, where they have to go to one of those events.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing about it now is that, when I did Caerusnet, when I started it, I had only known the format in an in-person environment. So I lived in Michigan. I would drive to Brighton a couple times a week to run my Brighton team meetings, had a meeting room, meeting materials, banners, all sorts of stuff that required driving and setup. Would have to go to Ann Arbor, go to Canton, and do all of that. And then the pandemic happened, and all of my locations closed. I'm sure you remember how the whole thing went down. And so I thought to myself, geez, I had better get darn good at doing this online really, really quickly, or or people are going to suffer, my business will suffer. So I didn't make any excuses. I just dove in, led with my chin up, and brought the format into Zoom. And so it was a learning curve, especially when you're working with people who never used Zoom either. I mean, why would you learn how to use Zoom when most people you're going to do business with are a 10-minute drive from you? Zoom was initially designed to bridge the gap between long distances, right? But now people are Zooming to all of my Cirrusnet meetings, even though we could be right around the road from each other. Yeah, and the other thing too is the facilitators that I work with, they all have complete autonomy to decide the format that they want to run their meetings in. So many have chosen to keep it online, and they offer like in-person get-togethers every 90 days, a happy hour, that sort of a thing. Others do a hybrid format where there might be an opportunity for some people to meet in person for the meeting and others to log in over the Zoom. And then others are doing it in person. So really, we're trying to have a different format. So when somebody comes to me, if they're really cool with the digital format, hey, that saves you a lot of time driving all over the place. And I do believe you can develop online relationships that yield offline results, right? I mean, if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be doing this. So, but it took some convincing for some people to start with. There was a little bit of a resistance. Some people were like, "Oh, I don't like technology. How can I build relationships online?"
Yeah. And that speaks to an important point. Is when we got into the March April 2020 timeframe, Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, all of these things became a reality for us, and that this is the way we need to conduct business. So we probably ought to get pretty good at it. But with that comes this, Zoom fatigue of like, man, I'm just so tired of seeing people virtually. Have you experienced any of that?
Myself, the only time maybe I've experienced a little bit of Zoom fatigue is if I was just running nonstop meetings all week long, not just for my teams, but also had many meetings wedged in between or after my meetings. And I definitely empathize with people that had kids at their homes that had to do their classwork from a computer all day long, where maybe the home wasn't the greatest environment for that. But for my clients, I don't think the majority of them get very much Zoom fatigue, because I would put money down that my electrician, Randy Fisher, who is the MVP of my Brighton Wednesday group, I bet you he probably does one Zoom meeting or two Zoom meetings a month, and those are with me. So he probably doesn't get much Zoom fatigue.
That makes sense.
So it really boils down to the person and what they're going through.
Yeah. That makes sense, and I would assume that as you get more individuals that are interested in this platform, they bring people, and then that's how groups spin off, and it just almost takes on a life of its own in some measures, I'm sure.
It does, and I practice what I preach. So everything I teach to my clients, I use all the time. It is my happy and satisfied clients that are going to refer my next ones. So it's really important for me to be doing great work, to be holding a space in people's lives that they really appreciate, because, most people will tell you that are in Caerusnet, they get something from Caerusnet they don't get other places. They get instruction and guidance on how to, be a better networker, how to be a great referral partner, how to add extra value to your client relationships. They have me holding that space for them. So they always know when they log on to one of their meetings with me, I'm positive, I'm upbeat, they know what to expect. And I think that having that sense of familiarity builds confidence with people.
So Steve, as you look out, it's obviously early on in the game in 2022. What's the roadmap look like for the rest of this year for you guys?
Yeah, we're super excited about the things that we have going on right now. We have many different in-person events scheduled for this year, including a member breakfast at the Crystal Gardens in July. We did one last year in June, and it was incredibly well attended. We had amazing electricity going on there, so there's no way that I cannot do that again. I'll be coming back to Michigan in July for that week and just be connecting with all of my members in person, cement those relationships. We've got a golf outing. The big thing I'm excited about too is something called Referraltopia. This was initially an in-person event we did as a business expo in Ann Arbor a few years ago. We weren't able to do it the first year the pandemic happened. We canceled it. The second year, I didn't want to cancel it, but we knew we couldn't do it in person either. So we manipulated Zoom as much as possible to do an entire business expo with breakout rooms and professional speakers, best-selling authors. And we're doing that again this year in May. And that just provided the members of Caerusnet and all Michigan businesses that wanted to attend it, because it was open to everybody, to walk out of something where they learned a lot of new things, made new connections they could follow up with. So we've got new facilitators signing on right now, because that's another, in addition to supporting the members of my teams, I also support the facilitators who are doing this in Lansing and other places in Michigan. And, our goal is to expand in a nice, controlled way. My number one goal is to support my teams in Michigan. People always ask me, so are you launching Cirrusnet in Arizona? I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to mix business with pleasure here.
Talking about your involvement with the Chamber, I know, for example, you guys offer a discount to Chamber members. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. And that's really great that you bring that up, and thank you for doing that. Last year at the member breakfast, I let everybody know that was there that I really felt that one of the ways that local businesses, and that's my client, it's the local business, it's that person you're going to see walking up and down the street in downtown Brighton or Howell, I let them know that really your best opportunity for growth over the next couple of years is what I call healthy collaboration with other businesses, finding ways you can work together. And that was what happened for the Brighton Chamber and Cirrusnet is, the Brighton Chamber does a wonderful job supporting the community, and they offer introductory, very inexpensive networking groups right there at the Chamber to support any business that just wants to give a try at networking. Absolutely. That's all I do. I don't do ribbon cuttings. I don't do anything else. All I do is focus on running a business group. So that's my expertise. And they recognize that over the years, how many people have told them how much value they get out of Cirrusnet. So I said, hey, if you got folks that are really looking for, pretty dynamic networking and want to take it to that next level, we'll be happy to offer them a discount if they'd like to try Cirrusnet.
It's tremendous.
And likewise, I let my members know too that the Chamber is a wonderful place to go to expand your business. And because they also do a lot of social things, they can also be a helpful social arm to the members of Caerusnet.
No, that's a good point. And that just kind of reaffirms the thought in business. There's more room in your quiver for arrows than just one, right? You got to have a multitude of things that you're working on and working towards. And Steve, I really appreciate you walking me through Caerusnet, and I'm excited to learn even more about it. I've had at least 3 people in the last week in the studio come through and just talk about them loving the group or them. So that's nothing but a positive affirmation for you, my friend. So well done.
Thank you.
And just for the folks at home, if they want to learn more, the website and everything will be linked up in the show notes. But go ahead and just tell everyone what the website is.
Yeah, it's Cirrusnet, and if I had it to do over again, I might rethink the name because it's not the easiest thing to Google search if you don't know how to spell it. Caerusnet. That's it, Cirrusnet. Or you could just search Facilitated Referral Teams we're the number one ranked on Google for that.
Perfect. All right, Steve, absolute pleasure, my friend. Thanks for doing the show today. We really appreciate it.
Rob, I appreciate the time with you. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk soon. All right, friends. Well, that'll be it for this week's episode of the Chamber Podcast. I appreciate you listening. As always, if you do us a favor, drop a review on Apple or Spotify. Let us know how we are doing. And if you can, if you want to be on the show, reach out to the Chamber, and they will get you squared away on scheduling. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.